Hello and welcome to highlights of the 2011 Formula SimRacing World Championship. I'm Jack Nichols, and the big news this week was the cancellation of the Malaysian Grand Prix, which was red flagged 23 laps in. It will now be rescheduled and rerun at a later date in the season. As a result, the teams now move direct to Shanghai for the Chinese Grand Prix. 56 laps around the Herman Tilke design track await. This circuit features a very unique snail corner and an extremely long back straight. News from the paddock included the return of Formula World Champion Dennis Hurl, along with fellow German Karol Poniatowski and Italian Ernesto De Angelis, and the shock retirement of veteran driver Lee Morris, who has hung up the driving gloves after 35 World Championship starts. So to the qualifying results, and Bono Huis started from pole for the first time this season, followed by teammate Jarkko Mykkänen. Mikko Puumalainen matched his best qualifying result to start in third, and Jon-Erik Saxon put in another impressive performance to qualify fourth. Too Fast For You made up the third row of the grid, ahead of Poniatowski and Kirchhoff, with Room and Hurl in 9th and 10th. ATR Silverline couldn't quite manage to get inside the top 10, qualifying in 11th and 13th, and Patrick de Wit would start from 12th in his 50th Grand Prix start for Faster Than Speed. To the race start, and all of the frontrunners had an essentially equal launch off the line. Mikko Puumalainen managed to get alongside Mykkänen into turn 1. Further back, Moran ran into the back of his teammate, and Tali ran wide off the track. Snaking through turns 2 and 3, Mykkänen held on to his second place, and David Greco slipped past both his teammate and Poniatowski. Hurl lost out to both Fott and de Wit, dropping down into 12th. Into turn 6, Greco made another overtake, this time passing Jon-Erik Saxon for 4th, and de Wit then passed Room to move up into 10th position. Blair Disley seemed to be struggling for traction, losing out first to Atsej Kirchhoff and then Patrick de Wit, who was continuing an impressive charge up the field. After the opening lap, Huis was in the lead ahead of Mykkänen and Puumalainen. Greco was up into 4th, just ahead of the Aero F1 cars of Saxon and Poniatowski. In 7th place, Atsej Kirchhoff was leading de Wit and Blair Disley, who had lost 4 positions in the opening lap. Despite a good start, 10th place Alain Fott was clearly lacking in straight line speed, with both the GT Omega cars sailing past him on the back straight, quickly followed by Frederik Nielsen and then Dennis Hurl. It all went wrong for de Wit on lap 10, when he locked his brakes while defending into the hairpin, losing positions to both Disley and Room. However, out of the final corner, de Wit put his foot down too quickly and then lost 2 more positions to Keithley and Nielsen. Having been up into 7th place, the Dutchman was now down to 12th. Jack Keithley's race then ended 2 laps later, when the Englishman span his car out of turn 13, narrowly missing several drivers and stalling his engine. Further ahead, Twister driver Atsej Kirchhoff caught up to the back of Poniatowski and passed the German to move up into 6th place. In the lead, Bono Huis was racing like a man in a league of his own, edging out a large gap over Mykkänen, who was being closely followed by Puumalainen in 3rd. Greco and Saxon continued their lonely races in 4th and 5th position. Having started in 17th place, Frederik Nielsen's charge advanced further, with the Twister racer passing Disley and then Poniatowski to take 6th place. Having been held up for several laps, Disley desperately searched for a way around Poniatowski, and despite making a pass stick through the hairpin, a mistake by the Australian gave the position right back to the Aero F1 car. It would prove to be a costly mistake too, as Poniatowski then span his car out of turn 13, and with nowhere to go, Disley collided with the German, losing his front wing in the process. Pit stops made no difference to the running order at the front. Huis now had a 10-second lead over Jarkko Mykkänen. Puumalainen lost 2 seconds to Mykkänen through the stops, but he was still managing to match the pace of the precision driver. In 4th, David Greco was unable to catch the leading trio, and just behind Saxon and Kirchhoff remained in 5th and 6th. An early pit stop worked wonders for Rasmus Tali. Having started in 16th, the Estonian effectively leapfrogged 5 drivers, moving way up the order and into 7th position. Although he held on to the position ahead of Frederik Nielsen for several laps, the Twister car proved to be slightly faster, and Nielsen eventually found a way past Tali into the hairpin. In 9th position, GT Omega racer Reino Room was trying to hold off Dennis Hurl, but an earlier stop from Hurl proved to be the better strategy, and being unable to defend with cold tyres, Room was helplessly passed down the back straight on his outlap. In 11th place, Blair Disley was recovering after his earlier contact with Poniatowski. The Too Fast For You driver was slowly but surely bearing down on Room, but was running out of time to close the gap to the final points-paying positions. Alain Fott was in 12th place, with a struggling Karol Poniatowski immediately behind him. It was apparent that Poniatowski still had some suspension damage after his crash, and on lap 54 the German's rear tyre suddenly punctured, sending him careering into the tyre barriers. Taking his third win on the trot, Bono Huis won a perfect Grand Prix, taking pole position, setting the fastest lap, leading from start to finish and winning by over a 20-second margin. Jaakko Mykkänen crossed the line in second place after a solid drive, and Mikko Puumalainen earned his fourth career podium. A satisfied David Greco claimed fourth place, and Jon-Erik Saxon drove another impressive race to finish in fifth. After a troubled weekend, Twister Racing came 6th and 7th, and an amazing charge from the back of the grid put Tali up into 8th. The NetRex cars finished in 9th and 13th, Renault Room picked up a point for GT Omega Racing, and Disley finished just outside the top 10. ATR Silverline crossed the line in 12th and 14th, and Jim Parisis and Giuseppe Marconi brought up the rear of the field. So after 3 rounds, Bono Huis now has the maximum possible 75 points, and despite only finishing 4th, Greco remains in 2nd place. Mykkänen is now close behind though, and Puumalainen's podium has moved him up into 3rd. Tali has dropped down into 5th behind Jon-Erik Saxon, and Nilsson, Kirchhoff and Morand all remain inside the top 10. In the Constructors' Championship, Precision's 1-2 here at China has extended their lead to over 60 points. Matt Core have just overtaken Too Fast For You for 2nd position, though only by 3 points. Twister Racing remain in 4th place and will need to achieve some strong results in the coming rounds to avoid losing touch with the other top teams. Aero F1 have continued with their impressive season start, running strong in 5th position. The next round will be the Turkish Grand Prix, and you can watch that race live as it happens. Simply go to www.psrtv.com on the 15th of May at 5:30 PM GMT. We hope you've enjoyed today's highlights. I'm Jack Nichols, and we'll see you in a fortnight's time for round 4 of the 2011 Formula SimRacing World Championship.